Oh, hell, Jordan never did that move. Oh, I'm sorry, Piccolo. Wait, it's not two L's, is it? Is it two C's? Yeah, it's two C's. Okay. Alright. Sometimes you just gotta move on. Notion. It's entertainment more. Power scaling. It's educational, technically. God, I can't believe that there is like a fucking second wave of Jujutsu Kaisen madness because of Gege making a bunch of alter statements. Femboy stocks up. Thank you, Sage Domain, for the tier list. Hello? Let me get this off the screen. Changes saved. This is Pokemon music, in case you're curious. Let's put on Champion Nimona. I really call this the strongest in the universe. That's a good way to put it. Superhero, Granola, and then we need one for the Moro arc. So this will just be everything from like Broly to Superhero. That's because the events of Broly are directly talked about during the Moro arc. And I haven't read the previous chapters. I tried to read the Tournament of Power, and it was dog shit. It was really boring, and the parts that weren't boring were kind of like frustratingly bad. So yeah, I've read up until the like Vegito Blue stuff, and like Perfected Blue Goku. The only things that really retroactively affect future scaling are just Vegito, which we'll talk about Vegito. And then... what's his name? Whether or not Goku absorbed God in a base changes how you interpret the planet. It doesn't really drastically alter how you argue the list. Just about whether or not base Goku Soul is Z or not. But... we need one more tier, my bad. We still need the... we'll just call this the Z tier. Next time on Dragon Ball Z. Super Saiyan Vegito, even just Super Saiyan Vegito, is far and away the peak. There's like almost no argument about whether or not, let me see if the quality's down. Getting a lot of drops just because I have music open. Vegito is just unquestionably the peak of Dragon Ball Z. It's repeatedly said in statements, guides, out of series material. The fact that in series they were confident Vegito could have killed Kid Buu. Kid Buu is arguably stronger than Buuhan is stronger, so the fact that Vegito can beat him up is just kind of like, yeah. And that's just as a Super Saiyan. He still has Super Saiyan 2 and 3. And he has, like, techniques and all that. He just kind of toyed with Buu. And in the anime, he was relative to Buuhan in base. So even if you think the Buuhan over Kid Buu argument, which it doesn't matter, either way, though, he's just in base comparable to, like, the two top guys. And then he has, like, the Super Saiyan transformations. So, yeah. Vegeto's cracked. The only reason Buuhan lasted so long is because he wanted to teach him how to fight, so that he would get the idea to steal his, absorb him. and he can save everyone. So Super Saiyan 3 at the start of Super, essentially Goku is like doing an image trading thing against Kid Buu, and he thinks as a Super Saiyan that he can take Kid Buu. So if you, however you scale that, it just means that Goku as a Super Saiyan is now comparable to base Vegito. Vegito still has higher transformations. She should be a better fighter too, even if you think it's closer than that. Vegito is just, whenever he appears, he is the best warrior in the universe, so he's just a better fighter than Goku. And like, Goku's martial arts and techniques haven't improved since he became Vegito. So even if they're equals, Vegito is just a better fighter and wins. My Bulma is just better than Goku. He did better. That's all we can say. In Dragon Ball, you only need like a 2 or 3 times difference in power. I mean less than a 2 times, but just being generous. You only need like 2 times of a difference to cliff someone. So like, him doing better than Goku doesn't mean he can still take with like Super Saiyan 3 Vegito. But like, you can argue his performance is better than Super Vegito, I guess. But yeah, he doesn't beat Vegito. Super Saiyan God versus Beerus, however, finally cliffs Vegito and actually enters Super Scaling. And he is God level. Super Saiyan God... Sorry about the disconnects, I can't control that. Super Saiyan Blue early on is 10 times Super Saiyan God because of the Universe 6 tournament, the infamous... Oh damn, that's short. Because of the infamous Goku should be a 10th. Vegeta should be a 10th of his normal power, and they're basically equals. It's really stupid and edgy. But yeah, essentially it's not that big of a jump yet. The bigger jump is from 3 to God, because in the manga it doesn't appear to be that Goku absorbed the God Ki. Which you can have that argument all day if you want. There's like one panel that suggests he does and nothing else. And Vegito is actually kind of the bigger argument that he didn't, but maybe not. It kind of depends. We'll get to it when we get to it. I think actually a better way to do this, because I don't want to do all these characters, is to just scale Goku in each arc, which is what we're going to get to. And then yeah, obviously Goku masters Super Saiyan Blue. And from that point onwards, it seems to match the anime version where it's 50 times God. This is stated in a Resurrection F movie promotional in the Daizenshu. Or I think it's Kaizenshu, I'm not sure. And then also it's reinforced by Goku versus Kefla. He's getting mobbed by her in base. Like, he's God and she's base. And then he's like, fuck this, and goes blue. And she goes Super Saiyan, and it's the exact same exchange. You know, he does slightly better, if anything, which would actually imply it's more than 50 times. It would actually imply that it's closer to the Mastered Super Saiyan multiplier, which is theorized to be more in the range of like 500, but it's not important. Essentially, not better of a multiplier. That's all that matters. Obviously, in the Tournament of Power, he's just stronger than he used to be. That's how Dragon Ball scaling works, because he trains. Then he pulls out this, what the hell, Kaioken ass panel in the manga. And he pulls out MUI Goku, MUI, to beat Jiren. Pulls out the Omen a few times, but he uses the Omen. I guess we'll just put it there, right? Since it did better than Kaioken. Now, this is where scaling gets really fucking interesting, because this is where we actually get to like Moro and Broly. I'm gonna pull this one up, because if I don't pull this one up and show it, people won't believe me. There's a good chance this is a mistranslation, because I read off this site. I'm not gonna lie. Except for the fact that Frieza had been revived. The next spot of trouble caused by Frieza is a tale for another time. Suffice it to say, our 2 Saiyans emerged from those events stronger than ever. which would mean that a lot of people seem to have an issue with this because like they don't watch Dragon Ball, so they don't understand how power cliffing works. But like that's just how it seems to be, based off that statement. And then you also have things in the next arc that sort of confirm that their power growth. Overall, it's not the biggest deal. The only defeater to this is Vegito Blue, and Vegito Blue is like a weird character that I don't really want to get too far into right now. But essentially there's a statement in universe by Shin that Vegito Blue should be as strong as Beerus. And there's a like author statement by someone that helps with the manga that also stated he's stronger than Beerus. However, Beerus still hasn't been surpassed by like the main cast. So if Vegito Blue is this strong, it does not make sense for Goku to be cliffing his old transformation and then gaining a newer form on top of it, and then another newer form that's stronger and stronger, and for them still not to have caught up to Vegito Blue from Goku Black. It's a very bizarre scale where you have Goku Blue cliffing MUI in the Tournament of Power and also Vegito Blue being Beerus level, is to just suggest that Vegito is a way different amp than Gogeta. Because, spoilers, Gogeta's kind of cheeks in the manga. So it just comes down to how you want to argue that. But essentially, that's kind of how it is. However, Goku Blue does still make the statement that he thinks that he only won because of luck, and that there are still people stronger than him out there, talking about Jiren and Broly, which also kind of contradicts that. It's a weird statement. But this is like a super high ball, I guess, for that. You can argue it both ways. You can argue that he's just being humble about that, and you can also argue that other thing is just maybe talking about his blue state specifically to make these two statements consistent. But if you think Vegito Blue is up here, then the downplay statement is much more likely, and we would go with this. We do know, however, that he couldn't use MUI though, so it's kind of unprovable if he was actually like that. And then we know that Gogeta only won because Broly lost control in the manga. So unlike the anime, where Gogeta is like super Giga S tier, he's like basically just barely stronger than Goku and Vegeta. In the manga, MUI actually might be a higher transformation multiplier than Fusion, based off the Gogeta fight. At least Metamoran Fusion, not Vitara. There's a lot of ways to argue all of this, by the way. That's why this is more of a tier list. Grand Kaioshin. He was able to steal old Moro, which is just better numbers than Goku and Vegeta put up as blue, at the cost of his God Ki. So if you assume that he doesn't have God Ki, then he's just like Shen level, who's just verbatim stated to be equal to Cell Games Goku, so he'd be like the bottom of the list. If you argue that him sealing Moro is like an old Moro level feat, then he's just better than Goku and Vegeta. Just depends. He lost his God Ki after this, which is why he's so much weaker, why the other Kais are so weak. Versus old. That's... okay. Okay, alright. God, that's getting on my nerves. It seems to be putting up better numbers, but it's not strong one way or the other. Doesn't matter. Majin Buu comes out and puts up a better performance against an old Moro that has absorbed Goku and Vegeta's energy, so just strictly better than Kaioshin and Goku and Vegeta. OG73. Where does he go? I guess by this logic we should bump all these guys up, right? What does OG73 do? He beats up Piccolo. It doesn't really have much scaling at this point. He loses to Gohan, who's like on par with Goku's Blue from the Tournament of Power based on his exchange with Kefla. Goku thought he was going to have to go take care of Kefla, and then Gohan takes her, so. Considering this Gohan has been training, I'd probably just put him up here. Piccolo in the Moro arc, he was able to fight relatively on par with OG73, but he lost him until he pulled out a copy of Moro. Android 17 and 18 then are able to come in and swap with OG73 and jump him so that he can't use Moro's absorption. However, this is probably the order, as weird as it sounds. Saganbo. He just beats everyone up. And he gives Super Saiyan Blue Goku some trouble when he comes back to save the day. Goku's strongest form at this point. His base has gotten stronger and he's using Ultra Instinct. So it's just better than MUI during the Tournament of Power. However, it probably might not actually be, depending on how you scale some things. Because, Mirrors makes a statement that if he can find a good trigger for Ultra Instinct, it will become more stable than last time. And you can argue that means power, but it just means he'll be able to maintain the form, and it won't be something out of his control. Vegeta Blue starts beating up 7-3 Moro, and he's like, Moro goes, "This'll be my finest meal yet." Yeah, he's talking about Vegeta, so. He puts a he got the thumb pose. I didn't even notice that. But yeah, he just puts up a better performance than Goku does. I mean, that's all there is to it. Mirrors is weird to scale. So there's only one Mirrors on the list, so I'm assuming this is full power Mirrors. We'll get to him in a second. So this is the strongest version of Moro. He is Mirrors plus himself, so he's just stronger. And MUI Goku, that is actually Mirrors' scalable power. Mirrors is not some unquantifiable, vague god deity level. He actually does have a quantifiable power. Moro absorbs him, which adds his power to his own, and then, or his arm, not him. And then Goku is still stronger. Goku just can't beat him because of hacks. So if you want to put it that way, I have no problem with that. I actually think Planet Moro is on here, isn't he? Yeah. Okay, so we can order it like this. Because his body had to adapt to become strong enough to contain the power. So he wasn't actually able to utilize his full power yet. So I guess by that logic, you could put it like this. Either way, he basically just scales to either this Moro or this Moro. You can put him like this. Moro 7-3. Yeah, he just fucking bodies everyone so far. Yeah, but that's kind of boring. There's no actual difference in, like, the tier list. 40 million granolas. Why are there so many granolas? Old Moro initially. He gets his ass whooped by everyone. He can barely put up numbers against, like, the lower forms of these guys. I'd probably put him, like, actually down here. Goku and Vegeta's energy. Well, he beats them. And then he tussles with the Great Lord of Lords. At that point, he's still considered a threat that they'll need to go blue for, so it doesn't really matter. They think they're stronger, but that they'll have to go full power to beat him. Prime Moro? Yeah, at that point, he's stronger than Boo. God, there are too many characters. There are too many forms. Why are there so many Gokus? Alright. That is Moro, though. The only things to point out are, I think Goku's weird Susanoo form is on the tier list. But I actually don't think that's a distinctly different Goku than this one. So, what happens in the fight, right? Because a lot of people haven't actually read it that argue about this. Is Goku is fighting Moro, which puts him on par with Goku, and they're fighting. And now that there's not a massive power advantage, Moro can go back to absorbing Goku's energy. So he knocks him down into base by absorbing all of his energy. Everyone tries to give him energy, but it only gets him up to blue. And then Oob comes and gives Goku energy, which knocks him into Mastered Ultra Instinct. And later on, we see him use the Susanoo ability against Gas at the very end of that arc, without weird amps. So that isn't like a weird divine technique he can only temporarily activate. It's just an ability he has. And him going to MUI, we can't really prove he's stronger than normal. We know that he needs a certain level of strength to reach UI, which is what Oob gives him. So MUI Goku versus Moro is just the same power level when he shatters the crystal as when he's fighting Moro. There's no actual quantifiable increase. Like, at best, right? If you are just, like, convinced this is, like, something else, this is the best case scenario. That's it. And he was already strong enough to destroy Planet Moro. He just didn't have the ability to, like, in a battle sense. Because of the fact that he got drained. So I don't actually see a difference between those two characters. Unfortunately, some people think that Goku is like some super jacked, like, Beerus level threat for some reason. Granola Pre-Wish. Granola Pre-Wish is really hard to scale. Almost impossible, actually. He has, like, no actual feats or statements. You can use rationalization to imply that he's a valuable asset to the Heaters, who also use Gas. And Gas actually does have a really crazy implication for how strong he is without a wish. But assuming it's the same for both of them just isn't really it. That's like a really weird highball for Pre-Wish Granola. I don't think he needs to go on the list personally. It's probably just like fodder. But it is worth noting that Gas shows up after his wish to become the strongest in the universe. And he fights, like, strongest in the universe Granola with, like, his base abilities. And Granola, like, isn't surprised he's having trouble. Which means, like, Gas before the wish might have actually just been, like, God tier for some reason. But that's kind of iffy. And it's more so just that they probably mean that he wanted to use his abilities to defeat Granola, not his actual pre-wish power. Because they never say power, they say that technique. And it's talking about the weird magical apparition, like Green Lantern abilities Granola or Gas has. So for now, Granola's just like unscalable fodder, pre-wish. Unless you really buy into that one statement, then maybe he's kind of jacked. Oh, and if you want to scale Mirus after he loses his deity status, then you just have to look at all the feats he performs where he like blitzes base Goku and Vegeta and scale base Goku and Vegeta at that point. That's as simple as it gets. Base Goku and Vegeta at this point seem to outclass the regular Z fighters, even Piccolo and Vegeta, so he would more than likely just go around Saganbo. Sorry about that. So yeah, even Mortal Mirus is somewhere in this tier, just not as high. It's too many characters. MUI Goku versus Granola has just straight up trained, so Super Saiyan Blue Evolution of Vegeta versus Granola, he would be stronger than he used to be. He's able to put up way better numbers than Goku in his normal forms. But he seems to do worse than Goku in his silver form, which would mean this is consistent. Granola was above Goku before he like got full power. Yeah. He pushed into silver with his clone. Why are there so many Granolas? God, I hate this. It's not that serious, bro. There don't need to be this many versions of Granola. Alright, Ego Vegeta beats up Granola. Wait a second. Why are there 4 Ultra Egos? Oh no. It's not that serious, man. He just gets vaguely stronger. Okay. Alright. And then Vegeta starts beating him up, says, hey, don't think that it's always going to be that way. And then Granola's like, damn, you right, I'll get stronger too. And then beats him up. From there, Gas wishes to be the strongest in the universe. He comes out and he's stronger. Alright, Gas fight. And then versus Old Gas. So this is like the one that's like sacrificing his life. Okay. Initial post wish just comes out and it's just stronger than Granola. Why are there so many? Come on. Versus, I don't care about Zombie. It's just stronger than everyone and weaker than Frieza. Doesn't matter. Yeah, he had Gas Shook. And then where's True Ultra Instinct Goku? Puts up a worse performance than Vegeta or Granola. Gas. Inner Nature. I'll use that as like full power Gas. And then obviously, to no one's shock, Black Frieza comes in and one-shots him. He one-shots Gas, and Gas literally ages to his death to try and become stronger. And it just doesn't work. He just like overpowers whatever Gas can become with his limited lifespan. Then he one-shots Ultra Ego Vegeta and True Ultra Instinct Goku at their strongest. They're like fully healed because of like Minato being like, now I can suddenly heal you so you can get your ass whooped by Frieza for power scaling. And that's kind of that. He just comes in chads. And even up to the current chapters, everyone now is like, what are we going to do about Black Frieza? He is just like a menace that we cannot deal with. To the extent that they even grabbed Broly and hit him on Beerus's planet. So Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 come out. Piccolo states that they're as strong as Goku and Vegeta. The last time that Goku and Vegeta were on Earth would have been the Moro arc. So, they're just kind of vaguely weaker than strongest in the universe Granola. I'm going to put Gamma 2 higher because, whereas we just never saw that from Gamma 1. I know that they do both have the ability to do that, but this is how I'm going to do it. Where is... I don't want to put orange. Here we go. He was losing to them, and when he went orange, he was able to one-shot them. So, I'm going to put him above the Gammas because of the fact that I want to use Orange Piccolo later. There are no 2 Orange Piccolos on this list. Cell Max comes out, and Piccolo and Gohan can't really do anything to him one-on-one. And I don't even believe there are any statements about him being the strongest, like, villain or anything like that in the manga. We actually might have to just delete the superhero tier. I don't actually think it's stronger than Granola. Yeah, Beast comes out, but he's still not stronger. Like, Gamma 2 has to nerf his power output, his mind isn't controlled, he still doesn't know how to fight. Piccolo and everyone else has to distract him. And then Gohan has to use a special beam cannon, which is like a multiplier on his power. So like, there's no actual way to argue Gohan 1v1 Submax. Unfortunately. However, I do want to save Gohan. So we're... But I do know that Gohan and Piccolo in their ultimate forms would have lost, but I'm just using them because the tier list doesn't have two beasts, or two oranges. Current Beerus is still unsurpassable. There's also the fact that Beerus probably just trains. I mean, I don't think we can prove it one way or the other, but like, realistically, if Vegeta Blue was equal to Beerus, Beerus is probably stronger now, but still, Beerus is just so far above the cast by such a cliff at all points in time that it's way safer to assume that he's still the current strongest, but there's one statement, so you never know. Current UI Goku after everything is seeming to be in here. Goku and Vegeta superhero? No. Those statements only apply to the movie. We can't actually apply them to the manga. Legendary Super Saiyan Broly is considered in this tier. Goten and Trunks are low-key almost impossible to scale, but they were able to put up similar numbers to the Gammas and all the other Z fighters that were there. The problem is that people like Krillin were there and he was able to help, so they just have no scaling, really. They should be stronger than they were in the Buu Saga, though. They did put up better numbers than 18. I'm willing to put them here. They were consistently better than 18, at least is how I'd put it. And then obviously the thing that everyone is going to click on this for the thumbnail for, where is current? Yeah, it turns out Superhero is really weak in the manga. This seems to be the tier list for now. There could be changes. But for the most part, this is how it goes. Gogeta and Broly are way weaker in the manga than they are in the anime for some reason. Then you have Superhero, which is just very weak in the manga compared to the anime. Where like Gamma 1 and 2 arguably, like with some arguments like Cliff Gogeta. But like then you have like the manga where like Cliff and Gogeta doesn't matter, and they don't scale to the next arc, which is kind of pathetic. But there has now been a statement that has come out, and I think it will be much faster to find this through a video. Sorry, I have no idea what's going on in my voice. I think my voice is going out.
So recently, Volume...
Come on, just flash the interview statement on screen. I know it's there.
of Dragon Ball Super, you could potentially get several completely different lists. However, all of this was turned on its head when Toyotaro was interviewed for the release of this volume, where he seemingly stated that actually all 5 of these fighters were equals. This has sparked even...
Is he going to put this statement in the video?
This statement contradicts source material, while others claim that the statement actually is that they aren't equal, only that they are rivals within the same tier of strength. So today, we're going to be...
No, he doesn't actually show the statement. I thought he would show the statement. Okay, Toyotaro, all equal. In the movie Superhero, Piccolo becomes Orange Piccolo and Gohan becomes Beast, right? So that makes you wonder, who is the strongest among Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, and Broly, doesn't it? As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to show that the power of all 5 characters is the same, which is why I created this composition. This is the hardest I've worked on a drawing so far, no kidding. And I might not be able to spend as much time on a cover like this in the future, why not? Also in the background, there's Black Frieza, whose power difference is something to consider as well. That's true. This Frieza looks so shiny, it makes me want to touch it. And it's UI Goku, Beast Gohan, Ego Vegeta, Super Saiyan Broly, Orange Piccolo. Now, because Vegeta is here, this cannot be for the anime, so this is the manga. This is the manga right here. This is the manga. It's a volume cover. Alright, are we clear? Are we all clear here? I know he said the movie, but we're talking about the manga. So yeah, so we're all in the same tier of power. How you interpret that is up to you. You can argue they're all equals, but realistically, if they all start equal while they're in their strongest forms, then Vegeta wins, then Goku, then Gohan, then Piccolo. Actually, Broly, probably, of these two. That's if they start equal in their strongest forms, but if you think they need their strongest forms to become equals, then it's more like this. Probably like that. If you think that they are only equals to each other at their strongest, but if you think that they all are equals when they enter their first form, then it's different. But either way, they're in their own tier because of how they would scale above the last arc, because they've all been training, just getting stronger. There's also the fact that Goku considers white hair to be his strongest form again, which means that he's likely gotten true mastered Ultra Instinct. As stupid as that sounds. So that's more than likely that way. And then Beast just outperforms Goku in their fight. And Ego was like on par with Goku before, and he's been training with Goku, and so is Broly. Whereas Piccolo is noticeably weaker than the rest of them, and more than likely just had to catch up. But they're still scared of Frieza. And then Beerus still thinks he's above Frieza and everyone else. And then Vegeta Blue has that one weird author statement that pushes him to be on par with Beerus. For the most part, though, this is what I would consider to be the tier list. You actually can argue, I think... Oh, is Prime Moro the one that beat up Omen Goku? It might actually be more like this one. Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta versus... Yeah, he's just stronger than he used to be. Can't really quantify it. Yeah, and then Vegeta just split him apart, so... Planet Moro should be definitively above MUI, though, because he needed Vegeta to split him apart to be able to shatter his crystal. Which I guess if you consider that... That still isn't mastering Meares' power, though, so I'll put Meares above him. This is basically all I care about, though. Like, what else do we have? Like, here, I don't care about this tournament power. I don't care about the gods. Like, Vegeta, what is Vegeta Yardrat training? It's just Blue Evolution versus Moro. I don't care about, like, Goku's Blue versus Gas or anything like that. Alright. This is what I would consider all the relevant scaling. This was a fun one. I'm sorry for the disconnects. I can't really control that. I've done everything I can to fix that, but my bad. This was fun, though. I finished reading the DBS manga, and I'm looking forward to making a video reviewing it, because it's kind of a negative video, unfortunately. The manga isn't... It's not good enough to say it's good. You gotta, like, add asterisks and caveats, but it ends on a hopeful note. And I'm really excited to see where the manga goes. So,